Pitchside. I'm Marco D'Onofrio, joined as always by Mr. Dan Riccio. And we're sitting here at BMO Field after
It was deflating.
Deflating, disappointing, frustrating. You can just say all kinds of adjectives to describe the home opener tonight, but let's get right into it because it felt like it was a real big missed opportunity tonight, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, there was so much hype around this game. Finally, TFC getting some hype. I mean, well, not finally, because they had some early on last year, and then it deflated as well. But this was a chance for Bradley, for Giovinco, for Altidore to really get some casual eyeballs on them and show them what they can do, especially Giovinco, because we've come to appreciate him, and I think a lot of the hardcore TFC fans have come to appreciate him, but casual fans need to see that wow factor. That's what Toronto's all about. We're all about that wow factor. If TFC wants to pay for these guys and fill this 30,000-seat stadium, they need Giovinco, they need Altidore, they need those guys to be doing what they can do on a regular basis.
And this game was anything but wow, especially the first 70 minutes of it. 75 minutes. But the frustrating thing, and I think the thing that really hurt this team, is that it took them to score to finally wake up. I mean, you played 75 minutes, as you said, and it looked like they didn't even care. They looked lifeless.
It wasn't even just to score. Did they at any point seem like they were threatening to score a goal before they actually did get one? No.
They didn't test the goalkeeper at all. And that, I think, they had 22 shots, and I think 4 of them landed on target.
I think you kind of have to credit Houston a little bit. And their mentality that they came in here with. You know, this is a team that I think they only had 2 wins prior to tonight's game. I think they were 2-4-4. I might be wrong, but I'm going off the top of my head. And they win this game, and that's a big boost for them. A team that, as we always talk about, everybody in MLS wants to beat TFC. And they talked about it before this game. But, you know, Owen Coyle, if you remember him from his Premier League days, this is his first year as the Houston manager. I mean, this was a typical Owen Coyle match. Like, fill up the midfield and kill on the counterattack. And that's exactly what they did to TFC.
But this wasn't a typical Houston Dynamo game, and I say that because they've conceded more goals than any other team in Major League Soccer, and for 75 minutes they played some solid defense. And granted, Toronto FC did not really test them. They lacked creativity, but at the same time, credit Houston for coming in here, a game on national television in both Canada and the United States, a brand new BMO Field, 30,226 people in attendance, and believe me, co-producer Anthony LaPopolo and I went to check out the march before the game, and we saw the crowd marching, and Cabby from TSN's got the flag in his hands, and you felt the buzz until the game actually kicked off, because it was a rather dull first half.
Yeah, and it was kind of like there was a couple of bad omens before the game, right? Yes, you know, the big jersey ripped as they were taking it off the field, like it ripped in half.
The best was the banner. They're trying to bring the banner up on the top.
Well, there was a goal bus that was coming westbound from Oshawa, and a bunch of TFC fans got stuck on it because it was delayed. Wow. So that was why I believe part of the reason why the stadium, so many people were fashionably late for the home opener. So they bring the big TFC banner up on that backside east stand there, and it was difficult for them to get it across. Couple of bad omens.
Couple of bad omens. Well, let's talk about the product on the pitch, because Greg Vanney, did he get it right today? Because it doesn't seem like he did.
Yeah, I don't think he did, and I don't know how much of that is on him to blame. It sounded like in his post-game comments that he wanted his players to be more adventurous, but at the same time, he went with the same defensive formation that they played in the last 2 wins, which were away games.
But they were against Orlando and Philadelphia.
And that too, and it's also like, I expected them to come home and be more adventurous. And they sat deep for pretty much the whole first 45 minutes. And they talked about that post-game. Vanney especially was not really happy with the way his team played and how timid they were for that first 45 minutes.
Well, what killed me in the post-game press conference is he said, when they went down 2-0, they said to themselves, holy crap, we might actually lose this game. Let's go. Well, when it's 1-0 at halftime, should that not be your mentality right then and there? But let's talk about the tactics. I mean, Osorio coming in made such a big impact, and I don't think the kid gets the credit he deserves because him coming in for Findley changed things right away.
Yeah, and Vandy talked about that. I asked him that post-game, like what made the difference when Warner and Osorio came on to change the game stylistically for TFC. And it was really just the fact that Findley and Jackson were playing too wide. And it really put a lot of pressure on Shearu and Bradley to really man that middle of the field. And as we talked about, Owen Coyle, they went with like a 4-5-1, Houston did, and it really packed up the midfield and made things difficult on Shearu and Bradley and causing a lot of turnovers. So I think that was the big problem, and that's what TFC couldn't deal with Jackson and Findley on the field. And once you saw Osorio and Warner come onto the pitch, two guys that are more central midfield types, you really saw that change because TFC were able to do some of the build-up play that we saw in the first few weeks that was so exciting. Some of that stuff that really got us saying, wow, this team can really play offensively.
And we actually caught up with Findley post-game to talk about his first game with the Reds at BMO Field and what it felt like to play out wide instead of up top where his preferred position, as he clearly states. First game at a newly renovated and expanded BMO Field, just the thoughts on the crowd and the stadium itself.
I think it's amazing. The crowd was great. When they were singing the anthem at the beginning, it was pretty cool. So, yeah, it was definitely a fun experience.
Just thoughts on the game. I mean, a disappointing result, obviously, but looking forward ahead, thoughts and what needs to be done in the future.
I don't know. We'll look at tape, you know what I mean, and see what we could have done better. And each game we need to improve. You know what I mean. We've got a lot of games coming up, so we can't dwell on this loss too long. You know, just find ways to fix it and move on.
Do you find playing for Toronto FC in a large market different than in the past and in other MLS cities?
I mean, it's all the same when you're out there on the field. You know what I mean. The end result, you want to win, and that's what we look to do.
We've seen you playing out wide a lot recently. Do you prefer to play up top in a more advanced role?
Yeah, I mean, that's my natural position. But I mean, if I need to play out there, that's what I'll do, and I'll do the best I can to help my teammates defend and also be in the attack as well.
You guys have been on the road a lot. Have you had the chance to explore the city and Toronto in general?
A little bit, you know, and the weather's getting better now, so I'm looking forward to things like that too.
Thank you.
Okay, cool question. Pan Am games are coming up. I told you I saw you sprint back pretty hard. Do you think if there's like a race between all the guys in the locker room, you could probably take them?
Yeah, I don't know. There's some fast guys on this team. Be close.
I saw you pinned the back and you had some wheels.
It'd be close.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Who would give you the toughest run for the money?
Man, Justin's got some pace. Ash. Who else? Jackson.
Yeah.
There might be a couple others, but there's some guys. It'll be a good race.
Who's last? I saw Chris giving it hell too, man. Chris was giving it hell. He's got some wheels.
And I can't tell you who's last. I don't know. They all work hard. So. Yeah.
And we're back in the Houston Dynamo player management press box up here and eating their chips because clearly they didn't eat many of them.
I didn't know we were suddenly part of the Houston Dynamo management.
Yeah, you know, I gotta make a couple calls down, maybe make substitutions. We'll see. Pan Am games, though, you know, you just heard Findley. We questioned him. Who is the slowest player on Toronto FC? Realistically, who do you think it is, man?
I better tread carefully with this question, but it's got to be one of the center backs, right? It's got to be Caldwell or Perkey. Maybe
or Hagelin, because Hagelin.
No, Hagelin's pretty quick. I mean, he's a big guy.
Did you see him when they put him out wide, man?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's not quick enough maybe to be a fullback, but I mean, that was a problem in and of, like, there was a lot of limbs to that problem on that night in Dallas. But I don't think Hagelin is that guy, but because he is a lot more athletic, just based on the fact that he's younger than those guys. But I think it has to be probably between Perkey, Caldwell, and maybe Shearu.
Let's look ahead to Wednesday's game because we'll be back here at BMO Field. Toronto FC take on the Montreal Impact.
Wait. You can't make me answer that question and then not answer it yourself.
Who's the slowest player on the team? For me?
I'm going to get half that dressing room.
Chris Konopka. Did you see his header, man? Buddy, did you see his
goalie?
I don't. He's still a player.
That's such a cop-out.
But honestly, and I wish we had the chance to talk to Konopka post game because I want to ask him if he practices his headers, man. Because it was absolutely.
I did.
Did you?
Yeah, he said no, he does not. He said no, he does not. He laughed at me and he said, "Does it look like I do?"
And that's producer Boz, by the way, also working the camera and the pictures at TFC_Pitchside on Instagram is where you can see all his work as well as all our stuff. But let's go back to this Montreal game because it's going to be probably less populated here on Wednesday night. I don't anticipate you're going to have 30,000 people singing the Canadian national anthem like they did today.
15, maybe?
I mean, if they're lucky. But how much stock do you put into the Amway Canadian Championship, and how much do you think the team actually cares about qualifying for the Champions League?
I think they don't really care about it all that much right now. I mean, Vanny put it nicely when he talked about it last week, but it's hard to really care about it because winner of this tournament this year doesn't qualify for this upcoming tournament. It's 2016-17. That's so far down the road. Teams aren't thinking that far ahead. TFC's thinking about the MLS playoffs, but I still think they're not putting enough faith into it because TFC, like, we hear them trotting out all these huge superlatives of how important this stadium is and how they want to be one of the biggest clubs in North America, if not the biggest club in North America. And how are you going to do that? You want to raise your awareness globally? You have to get to the CONCACAF Champions League. You have to play in a final, maybe win it, and get to the Club World Cup. That's how you're going to grow yourself globally.
Is that the issue, though? I mean, is a spot in the Amway Canadian Championship, a Champions League spot given to the winner of that tournament, does it seem right? Because, I mean, you play all season, and I get you got the NASL sides that you want to give an opportunity to, but why? Why does a second division team, a classified second division team, deserve a spot to go to the Champions League? You don't see that in Europe. You don't see that elsewhere.
I don't know. It's a weird subject. I don't want to get into it too much, but I don't think the Amway Canadian Championship winner should, the Voyageurs Cup winner should get into the CONCACAF Champions League. It probably should be the best team in the MLS.
You might offend our good buddy Dan Squizzato with that comment, but we'll leave that to Twitter. Again, just the thoughts on the crowd before we cap up. You know, beautiful new stadium. Despite the result, it's great to see. It scares me because, as you see, it's massive. And if the team doesn't start winning, as we saw last year, as we saw the crowd dwindle, I mean, it will look horrific if this team fails to make the playoffs and we see an empty stadium of 30,000 people.
Yeah, I mean, Houston did a great job. Again, they really took the crowd out of the game, and they really didn't get back into it till Altidore scored that goal. And then the last 13 minutes were a big flurry of fun. But other than that, I mean, the crowd did well. But, you know, Houston, you got to give them a lot of credit.
All right, Dan, I think we'll wrap it up there because you had a pretty long day, man. Filled with power naps and
15 hours.
Yeah, you know, it started the way it ended with the night sky above and the CN Tower in the background. But thank you for joining us on TFC Pitchside. I'm Marco D'Onofrio.
I'm Dan Riccio.
He's Amil Delic, and Anthony Popolo is hiding in the background. Cheers.